What up, guys? Let's take a look at Coin. So this is one that I really wish that I had posted in my trading view, but honestly, I was like pretty busy at work and I just didn't have a chance to post it. But I saw like a pretty decent setup happening here after this really strong move off the $32 low. It ripped up, and when it started breaking through 50 around this first time, I was like considering taking a trade because I saw the biggest resistance that it looked like we had to deal with to start off was up in this box area that I ended up drawing here when it was around 50 after the run. I didn't really see it take off from 30, so I missed like this gorgeous rounding bottom setup. And I had this box in here previously, this lower box, as like this was kind of chopping around, and I considered potentially taking a look to take a trade up in this range, and thank God I didn't, because we did drop from 40 down to 32, so that risk wouldn't have been nearly as good. But what I was like, what, I'm just going to wait it out, and Bitcoin started really ripping, and everything started taking off with this, and I decided to look at it later once I saw that we went from 50 to a crazy nice wick top here up at 57.30-ish, right? So now what Coin did, which is pretty interesting, well, I mean, the biggest thing that we can see on Coin's chart is, ignore the yellow lines because we'll zoom in and I'll take a look at those after, but if we scroll back, you can see how price came down to about 50.22. We had some wicks that flew down, but the bodies always bought back up, meaning the buyers were trying to keep it above. So this was kind of the range of support, pretty much from 50, 47-ish up to 63 was like a real big one. So that's something to maybe keep in mind later, would be this top of the range at $60. But and then eventually, once we had this blow off top, when everyone ripped it up to 120, we came down and we attempted to hold support as low as 59.30 to about 60.50. And, it tried to make a nice double bottom here. And this is something that really trapped people, was right here. So in my view, the hardest resistance that we're going to have on this chart here is going to be the $60 if we can get there. Because imagine how many people bought this right here. And then we just blew the up. And, even if I saw this, of course, stop losses are going to be king in this position. But I would have been looking at the same thing, like, damn, this is a monster W pattern. But, the key thing of W patterns is something you always have to think about, is just because it looks like a W doesn't mean that it has to always go to the top here, number one. But number two, it should, right? But even when it does, it needs to confirm that neckline as support. So you can have this W where it goes boom, boom, it rips all the way up to there. And then it usually trends back down for the back test of the W. In most cases, that's how it works out. It could obviously have just traded sideways, but this isn't something that anybody really cares about now, because obviously price isn't right here. So let's just go back. So, we downtrended a lot. We made a huge rounding bottom here, and then we ended up going on this beautiful run. So let's zoom into where we are now. So after we had this wick top in this beautiful box range, we ended up seeing that we were getting all of this, downwards action. And, a lot of people might have been looking at that like, oh, there we go. We're going back down to $30. This is it. And my thought was, $50 is going to be a big psychological level, and breaking $50 is definitely a little bit sketchy. It was sketchy even to me. So I'm like, unless we can reclaim that $50 support, this thing probably is not going to be able to go back up. So as I'm looking at it, and I was on the 5-minute checking it out, right? Because you can see all my patterns. This is where I end up entering. So I had this drawn in as a potential, you saw, it looks like almost like a bull flag, right? It had a nice downwards channel after a monster move into it. And the price was just going down, down, down. And it kind of had, it looks better on the 1 hour. On the 5-minute, I didn't draw these trends. You could have got an entry maybe like here off of that break. But, so what I was looking at, I saw this break of this line. So I was like, all right, it looks like we have a potential W pattern here, but that's, or inverse head and shoulders. But what I saw mainly was this right here. We had the wicks come up, the body closed below, and then we rejected. and then we kind of made like higher lows. So I like to go off of styles like this where I look at the body, even if I'm on a 5-minute trend. I don't even care about over here yet. I'm looking at this. Where did we reject? If we closed above this, this could be pretty good. So eventually, what did we do? We ripped up out of here. We rejected at 50. So I'm like, shit. All right, we're rejecting that 50 again. So we might have to get below that 50. But what we did was we came back and we back tested this. Now, I didn't take this trade here because I was like, we could come back up, double top, whatever. And then we ended up ripping up and we broke right through the 50. So at this point, I'm like, all right, now we're above the 50. And I did have a strong level here that I don't have marked anymore. I think I took it off. And it was at 51.40, which was amazing because I was like, once we were starting to break through 50, I'm like, where can we find resistance? And I looked left and I saw this right here. And I was like, all right, somewhere in this range right here is going to be critical resistance. So I was like, what else could make some confluence besides obviously this beautiful price action, right? Rip up, resistance at 53.50. Back test 51.30, rip up to 57, come back down, tries to bounce off of here, then rejects again at 53.50. That's pretty strong. That's pretty, that might be something to pay attention to. Rip down, support at 51.40, and then we rolled over. So I think what else I ended up doing, I believe that I took a retracement. I'll have to double check just to see if this is where I was talking about. I think I was like, let me see what's some good levels here. And I think when I pulled it down, I did. Okay, look, when you pull this fib down from that high to this low, because I'm just trading this price action from this peak down, because this is where we potentially had a bounce here, right? I'm in this range when I'm reading it. I'm like, all right, perfect. 51.50. That was where we pretty much ended up getting that rejection. But I had 51.42, which actually worked out better than the fib. But what are you going to do? It might have just been lucky. But like I said, it's just drawing these lines across previous price action of support. That helps so much. So we got rejected there. So I'm like, all right, we got rejected there. We came down. We ended up bouncing off 50.22. We came back up. We got rejected with a little bit of a lower high. But I'm like, you know what? I think this is the chance for me. We have a lot of, bullish move coming in. We have consolidation. And I'm like, I think I'm going to take this trade at 50.22. And I'm going to start adding as we start to potentially break this channel. So what I did was I did buy at 50.22. And I bought a decent amount of shares, and I just was like, I'm going to stop it below 49.74, which I did. That was my risk. And I was like, we could have room to come up and potentially retest that old high. And I started buying in there. Didn't get a chance to, alert anybody in my trading view that I was doing this. And I added a little bit more right here, not expecting this fucking massive run, right? I added a little bit more at this 50, 60s, whatever it was. And then I was like, all right, now I have to wait and see if we can break this 51.40. Now I got busy at work. I couldn't look back. So I wasn't able to see. And then as I look back, I noticed we were breaking 51.40. And I wanted to make another buy right in here. But I was like, we just had a huge rip. Like maybe this thing comes back, consolidates on 51. Maybe it comes back to 50. So I put some more buys down at the 50s thinking maybe this would be a fake break. And then, later on in the afternoon, I looked back and I was like, holy crap, this was a banger trade right here, right? So I'm still in this. I bought this, like I said, Friday. Well, I don't know if I said it, but Friday morning, I bought it. So as I was looking at this on, later afternoon Friday, I saw like a nice wick up here. So I drew my line in at this wick top that we came down and consolidated. And at this point, I'm just sitting here like, oh, I'm in a beautiful position. Like if this thing rolls back to 50, whatever. I'm going to take my chances. I really believe we can come up at least to this 55, 65, whatever. And this thing has done so. But, has it run way too fast? It's possible. But this looks like a beautiful, beautiful bull flag. Now, something to think about, and I'm not trying to say everybody should come in and buy this because that's not how we work here and not how I work. But if you were to take a measured move of a bull flag, right, it's up to $76. Now, currently on this 4 hour, as of right now, there is bearish divergence on the RSI because price has now pretty much closed at the same price as this RSI was at previously. And now, RSI is down here. So this is something that we're going to have to keep in mind as far as for today, see how it closes, see what happens. But then another thing to look at here is the bodies of this candle, 53.71. That could come in confluence with a potential support buy. And we also saw that when I was looking at the 5-minute time frame, the 53.50 was a pretty solid area that we did slow down and struggle with a little bit. Now, another thing that we have to be cautious of here, which is pretty damn clear, I'm pretty sure to everybody, is this potential of a double top here, right? Wicks can come all the way up here, buy back in, and then you still have a double top. So I will be watching that. I'm not like too concerned about it because, just because of this beautiful back test, double bottom here and the dailies here, and then rip back up. Bitcoin has been running and Bitcoin's been consolidating up at a pretty strong resistance of 23K. So, this is all something I'm watching and looking at as well. Like, does Bitcoin have room to 25K? I have a box up there looking for that area there, but have we already come too far? Does it need further consolidation? Does it need to pull back and retest some supports? And this is all going to drag coin around with the price action of Bitcoin. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, as we're getting up in these levels, we're going to have buyers really sitting here at this 57.11 because we had a wick tap, huge rejection. So that's going to be a monster key level. If I was to buy pullbacks, does this end up having to eventually roll back here and then make maybe a lower, a lower high like W style, right? Maybe that would take a little bit of time to build out. Maybe we get some rejection, we come back down, we trend, and it starts looking like someone's thinking it's going to be a bear flag, but it ends up actually rounding up. Possible. Do we come back to 50 and retest it? That's possible too. So, these are scenarios I have to watch, but I'll be watching this price action on any dip buys I definitely want. Now, I personally had an idea to pull this thing up to 57.50 because that's where we got rejected last time. But I am going to be, watching this price action because if we don't reach there first and then we end up, failing and having a nice pullback consolidation, but we're still making a higher low, I might have to hang on this trade a little bit longer and see what happens. But as long as we don't lose 51.40, because that's like the biggest level for me is the 51.40 level, pulling back there and we hold that level, I might be adding to my trade as I'm still in 50s, right? So I'm okay with potentially losing some of this profit that I've made. It might be too big of a swing for me. We'll have to see how it goes, right? So this is all things that are going in my head. So sorry to, go too much, but do I want to risk the $4, losing $4 of my profits just to buy at 51.40, or do I want to just sell and then potentially wait and see if this comes back to 51.40 and then rebuy? Like, that might be the smarter idea for me, but I do want to see price trading in this range longer, even if it consolidates for a while, because this wick proved how significant this green box is right now. So then what's the next potential trade? Well, for me, is this thing going to just run and rip and hit $60 today? I don't personally think so, but we'll have to wait and see. I think that was a pretty good price action here. I think we need to consolidate and find where's the support going to be and what's the next support that's going to cause a bounce. Is it going to be this 53.50 or the 51.40? Like, those are the levels that I'm going to probably be watching for today. So, as price is sitting probably around this 55, well, it's actually 54.67, but 55.60 is really going to be a level for me right now to keep an eye on. To 51.30 to 55.61. Sorry, it's confusing. It's going to be something to keep an eye on. But I wouldn't be surprised to see start to go red here, and then shorters are going to start being like, oh shit, this is a double top. Come in, maybe drive price down, but then we end up getting a bounce here, and this turns into maybe a double bottom with the higher low. That's kind of what I'm thinking, right? But I'm not trying to be too crazy. So this is one I'm not going to really be trading today, as I already have a good position. I think it's ran a little bit too far at this point. It might need to cool down, but that's just my initial thoughts. This level here, where is this? So okay, let's. I know I said like 16 different levels, and I hope this isn't too confusing. But my support box range for me, for let's say today and tomorrow, potential pullback area with a low of 52.60 to 53.50. That'll be my green. If I was to zoom in and draw a green box range of where I think support's going to be, it's going to be somewhere within that dollar range. If we do break the 52.60 and start going down, then I'm going to be looking for 51.40 as the ultimate pullback zone with with that being said, I hope this all helps you. This isn't going to be something, like I said, I'm going to be looking in to come in and buy this thing right away. Personally, I'm not going to be looking for shorts either, but that might not be a bad idea. But the thing is the risk to reward for shorts right now isn't that good, because we have this potential of the price coming at least to retest this high. So that's, from here, 55 bucks roughly. That's a $2 move that could still potentially be in play. And if that's something you're interested in potentially playing, if this momentum does continue, we want to look for support to potentially start to be found roughly where we are. I mean, this is that old high over here, right? I mean, somewhere between, let's say 54.40, let's say 54.20 to 54.40 would be like a pretty key area for us to pull back to if we were still going to look for upward momentum today, and maybe a dip by there with a stop loss somewhere below 53.90. But, I don't know. I'm not really trying to set up a trade for this, even though there's still potentially $2 more in the tank. So this is going to be at your own discretion, but my main thing and my main idea is to wait for that pullback to around 52.60 to 53.50, see how price reacts, see if that can start like a nice W bottom on a 5-minute or something like that, and then we can think about taking a new trade. Until then, let's watch and see where price gets rejected. Even if today this thing decides, hey, I'm going to run up to 60 bucks, it doesn't mean, oh my God, this thing's going without us, let's all jump in, blah, 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 right? So, we can watch the smaller time frames if you want to take a day trade and try to pull it up to 57 and top ticket, but that's going to be challenging. And then, that's where I'm at. So hopefully this helps everyone who's kind of like maybe missed the boat so far, or is looking at coin and thinking like, damn, this thing's running, I got to start getting in there. That's what I'm thinking. Like, that's how I would play it. I hope this is helpful and makes sense to you guys. I think that eventually coin might have like, a run to 60. I don't think it's going to be like today personally, but, shoot me if I'm wrong. I'm in the trade anyway. So, I'm just going to sit on for the ride and maybe add some dip buys eventually when we do get them, because we will get them. And that's it. Good luck today with trading, and peace.